we're going to start our practice today standing. So let's start with the breathing exercise. Find the grounding, nice and tall, letting yourself feel grounded, noticing the physical connection of your feet to the earth. Interlock your hands. Now, the key here is that we keep a connection between our knuckles and our chin, even when the physical stress of the exercise makes us think, oh, they need to come apart. We want to, as best we can, keep this connection. So drop the shoulders down out of the ears. Rock yourself back and forth. As you're inhaling, we're going to inhale through the nose, and at the same time, you're going to reach your elbows up to the sky, keeping that connection of knuckles to chin. Now, when you think, that's as far as I can go, that's as much breath as I can bring in, you're going to tilt your head upwards just a little bit, keeping the connection of the knuckles and the chin, keeping the shoulders out of the ears, and you're going to take a little bit more of a breath. And then at that point, you're going to exhale through your mouth, squeezing your elbows together, simultaneously bringing your face forward, bringing your chin back down. So inhale through the nose, reaching the elbows up. When you say that's as much, tilt the head. Now take a little bit more air in. Exhale. Squeeze your elbows together. Bring it back to neutral spine. And be audible on that exhale. Inhale. Through the nose, elbows up, shoulders down. Tilt the head, take a little more in. Exhale. Squeeze the elbows together. Keep that flow going. Begin to notice, how much are you squeezing your hands together? Could I be a little gentler on my grip, but still keep that connection? Feeling the grounding of the feet into the earth and watching, mindful that the shoulders aren't creeping. Lengthen your spine. Begin to feel the energy filling the body from the inside. Reminding yourself, this is more than a physical practice. This is much greater than me just exercising in the morning. As someone who has a little ADD and often feels like I'm being pulled in 20 different directions, I love that on top of the fact that it is more than just a physical exercise. It is a physical exercise. I am getting the blood pumping. I am getting energy and blood into the lymphatic systems. I am starting to feel a warming in my body. My muscles are getting more energy. They're getting more oxygen, blood. They're starting to move. They're not as stiff. My joints. All of those things are happening. Three more breaths, just like this. Bringing that package together as best as I can. On this last breath, make a mental note which hand is in front, release your hands and shake your fingers out. Again, was there any stress in your fingers as you were interlocking? Shake your shoulders out. Move your head, let your head bob around a little bit. Maybe get some movement into your hips, into your torso. Drishta is that soft gaze forward. And for many of us, it's just kind of an afterthought. Perhaps today, Drishta is a little bit more of a focus in our practice. I'm not just looking at my screen to see my participants. You're not just looking at me. You're looking almost through me. And if at any point you feel like I'm still very distracted, close your eyes for a second. That might be better for you. Everybody's going to notice things differently. Inhale, take the arms out and up. Up is subjective. Reach left, reach right. Lateral flexion, left and right. Feeling the grounding into your feet. Are the messages that your brain is sending to your hands and your feet, are they being sent at the same rate? And I say that because I notice, certainly the first time I go into a lateral flexion, initially my thoughts are going to be armpit and ribs, and I feel very long. But often on my first one, if I'm leaning to the right, my left toe will lift up or my left ankle will roll out a little bit, which tells me that my brain is giving the message to my upper body very clear, but it might be forgetting to, there's still messages going downstairs. Notice these things, and it's not things that I'm going to be able to fix immediately. It's not even a fix necessarily, it's a mindfulness. Release everything back to the center. Rock yourself back and forth, side to side. Let's set everything up from the beginning of the class, interlocking the hands, chin and knuckles touching. The only difference is opposite hand is in front. Let the shoulders draw down out of the ears. Soften your knees a little bit. As soon as you're ready, start that breath. Inhale, reach the elbows up. Lengthen the spine. Tilt the head when you feel like the breath is full, and then exhale. This breath, this sequence doesn't have to be performed standing. That's how I've cued it today. But if for some reason you ever feel like, ooh, maybe I'm a little lightheaded or dizzy, or my legs are bugging me, my back is bugging me, I need to be seated today. Remember that although some classes I do specify, okay, I'm going to be using props in this class. Some classes I don't specify, but it's your responsibility to take care of your body. And as much as media likes to drill into us that there is one way to create a healthy body, and that's, no fat, no sugar, have to diet, have to be this certain weight, have to exercise this many hours every day. There is not. There's many ways to get to health. Allow yourself 3 more breaths like this. And then allow yourself longer to do this. I'm going to move on to a different part of our practice. Because I'm teaching to a schedule. If this was simply me and my body and my needs and wants today, perhaps I would be cueing myself differently. The beauty of being at home, you can take that instruction and Maybe not feel as guilty if you choose to do something different. Bring it back to the center. Wiggle the fingers. Roll the wrists. Inhale, take the arms out and up. Reach left, reach right. Feel the energy through the whole body. Let's take ourselves into that gentle flexion flow. Exhale, lowering to one side. You can look down, you could look up, you could keep both hands up. Inhale, bringing it to the center. As you inhale, step the leg out slightly. Exhale, step the legs together, lateral flexion. Inhale, step the legs out and bring the hands to the center. Nice. You may have done this with me many, many times. Then please go ahead and start adding on other options as you see necessary. But I invite you to question that a little bit or change it up a little bit. If you're used to tucking the leg behind and beside, what if you tried in front? Now the greater stretch in my mind would be the leg that's across and you're leaning across. It's slightly different than when I come behind. Play with these options. I don't have to do anything. I don't even have to be the best Candace that I can be. I want to be the best Candace I can be, and that can happen in a number of different ways. The next time you're at the center, your legs are slightly open, and feel free to turn the toes out slightly as you go into sunflower. Drop the tail down. Let your head and your neck release, bring yourself up. Now, what if you turned your toes forward and did the same thing? Exhaling, dropping the tail down, rounding the back, letting your head and your neck go, bringing yourself back up. What if I turned my toes back out again? And again, we're just finding a flow. Can you get your tail to drop below your hips? Maybe, maybe not. I'm trying. What other options are there for me here, Candace? What if we did this with a chair in front of us so that we could feel more stabilized as we dropped our body down, letting our head and our neck release? Some people having the head below heart or dropping down might affect medications. Again, we're in the middle of another deep freeze, and many of us have been stuck in our house. So these things all affect us. Serve yourself. Today I'm cueing to the name of the class, Yoga for Stress Relief. The next time you come up, bring it up, step the legs together, and let's find our edge here. Tall mountain. You are about, what is tall mountain, Candace? Your arms are above, you're standing straight. Lift the pelvic floor, gently pull the belly in. Maybe lift your heels up off the floor. Your edge, kind of a phrase that I use. I've heard other yoga teachers use it, but it's maybe not as common, and it certainly isn't a pose per se, is the spot where Ujjayi breath needs to lead you more. Be here. Let the heels come down. I'm turning only so you can see me. Release the hands. Lift your heart up just a little bit more. One arm at a time coming down. Rather than a lateral flexion, you're taking it slightly behind the body, and you're adding a back bend with a little twist. And you're alternating the sides. And again, I invite you not just to go, none of this stuff that I'm doing today is really different than things we do every single week in this class. What makes it unique is it's today. And be present today. As you're moving your body, what is the closest sound you can hear? Perhaps the sound of my voice. What about when I get quiet? What is the farthest sound you can hear? What is the feel of your feet into your mat? What do you feel with your hands? And you might say, well, I'm not touching anything. I feel nothing with my hands. Look closer. What do you feel with your hands? Try doing this with your hands really rigid and straight. And then do this with your hands or your fingers softened slightly. Suddenly you feel that air, energy, might have a feeling, have a texture. Bring both hands to the center. Exhale, bring both hands in front of you. They could be on your thighs. They might be on your shins. They could be on a block. Round your back, tuck your chin into your chest. Inhale, open your chest, draw your shoulders back. Exhale, cat and cow, round your back. Inhale, open. And I sync up the breath and the movement. As you're doing these things, and I only cue, not only, but I often cue the things that I'm noticing myself doing. Is anybody else starting to clench or grind their teeth? Release that as best you can. Inhale, bring it back to mountain. Stand tall. Take the arms out and up. Feel the energy that you're moving around as you're bringing your hands up. Perhaps interlocking your hands, but only if you can do that and still keep the shoulders down. So if you interlock the hands, you can bend the elbows if you need to, but if you find that your shoulders are up into your ears, then don't interlock your hands. Maybe lift your heels up off the floor, finding your edge. As you're working through your practice today, please notice if your breathing starts to change, or perhaps you start to hold your breath. We need that exhale. As you're ready, standing camel. Again, I'm turning only so you can see me. Heels are going to come down. Release the hands if they're not already released, and bring the hands behind the body. Lift the heart up to the sky. This isn't about hand placement on your back or your low body. Ribs and hips are being drawn together, and you're lifting your heart up to the sky. Open your chest to take in more energy. As you're exhaling, let your shoulders draw down. Feel the grounding into your feet. Maybe place your hands on your hips. Maybe try fingers pointing down and the hands on the low back. There's a lot of options here. Feel the exhale. Full exhale. Feel the flow of energy around your body. You could do this seated. There's tons of choice here. And this is often where I cue you to imagine your favorite color and feel, see, experience that color, that energy around your body. Are you influenced by other colors that are maybe in the room or around you, or perhaps even your own energy? You notice the colors want to change. Some people might call that energy your aura. please stay for as long as you want. Sometime in the next 60 seconds, maybe, because you can stay longer anyway, we're going to start our half sun salutation. If you're thinking, I want to start that now, well, then it's tall mountain to forward fold. Half lift, you're flattening your back. Your arms are not hanging. They're supported on a chair, on a wall, on your feet, on your knees, on your blocks, maybe on the floor, but your spine is flat in half lift. And then exhale, release to forward fold. And then inhale, maybe sweep your hands up. You might get a head rush. Maybe walk your hands up. And then you could simply bring hands through heart, or you could sit down into chair posture or hummingbird posture, or again, there's a wealth of options for you, but feel grounded. And then start that sequence over again. Inhale, tall mountain. You might add a little back bend. Exhale, forward fold. Our whole body is active, although most of what it looks like I'm doing, most of it's going to say, well, your your upper body is probably moving more than your lower body is. Perhaps if you're measuring it by the depth of a move, you might say, yes, that is correct. But the energy is traveling around and through your body. So as I bring my hands through heart, I need to still be aware of the grounding and the energy connecting my feet to the floor. Keep that flow going. What's the difference between stretch class and yoga class? Could be argued the difference is your intention. What's the difference between a fitness class and a yoga class? Again, it could be argued that the difference is the intention. I can do a class that's set up with yoga postures and get you sweaty and heart rate up. I can do a class with yoga postures and get you nice and loose and ready to, perform something else. It's the intention. It's the mindfulness. It's the awareness. What's the difference between somebody who walks through life without purpose and somebody who feels very fulfilled in the things that they're doing? And they might be doing the exact same thing. Mindfulness, intention. Keep that flow going. Remember to let your head and your neck release when you're in your forward fold. Nice. The next time your hands are at heart or you're sitting in your chair, bring yourself back up to mountain and ground. I'm turning so that I have more space on my mat. So you could stay facing the top of your mat, but my guess is you may want to kind of move sideways on your mat for this. I'm also setting myself up with a block on either side of the mat. Rather than us going into this forward and back series first, I want to start with a side to side series. Find your grounding. Inhale, tall mountain, step your legs apart. Exhale, lateral flexion, step the legs together. Take that flexion. Inhale, bring yourself to neutral spine and step that leg out. So now you're a straight line from the tip of your head through to your tippy toe. And notice what your body's wanting to do here. Some of us, the leg will go behind the center line. Some it'll be straight, but we'll start to turn our torso. And you might say, well, this is not hard enough. Great. Lift that foot up off the floor. Take yourself right into a half moon. And then when you're ready, bring it through to the center. Same thing on the other side. Bring that leg in or behind, beside, whatever. There's your flexion. Take it out and get long. So what is this series, Candace? I guess it's a variation on a half moon or a moon salutation. But instead of like a sun salutation, a moon salutation moves side to side. Instead of half sun salutation, where I'm not going up and down as much, we could call this a half moon salutation if you wanted to. We don't have to give it a name. But could you notice, and you can stay longer in a posture. Find your edges within the posture. So this isn't simply moving back and forth. Although this will get my blood pumping, I will get a bit of a workout. Can I bring all of those koshas together? So the energy, the body, the mind, the emotions, the spirit. Can I bring that all together so that I am a stronger variation of Candace? And when I say stronger, not just stronger, I can lift heavier things, but stronger in that I'm more resilient. I'm more confident. I'm more accepting of information. In my head, I was thinking of criticism, and criticism has it had negative connotation to it. Right? All these words have built in, outside of their actual definition, they have built-in emotions almost. If I'm being criticized, that means I'm doing something wrong, or somebody thinks I'm doing something wrong. Perhaps that's just a form of giving information. Keep that flow going too. You feel drawn to staying in an exercise or in a position longer for whatever reason. Maybe I just feel like, ooh, I'm wobbly there today. And typically those physical reasons will be the reasons that will dominate our yoga class, especially if it's a 1 hour structured yoga class. The physical things do tend to dominate. Keep that flow going. We think of the 8 paths to yoga. Yoga or samadhi being the goal. That's enlightenment. Physical yoga, like we're practicing right now, where we do all of these postures, that was really just developed in the last 100 years. But as with everything, there's an evolution, there's a growing. Bring it back to the center and then exhale, drop down into that sunflower. Inhale, bring it back up. Turn your foot position, do the same thing. Exhale, drop the tail down. Inhale, bring it up. Find a flow that serves you. Let your head and your neck go. And if at any point you think, oh, I would really like to sit into squat, don't let me stop you. Sit into squat. Squat itself has so many different components. Some of us squat, we do squats to strengthen our muscles. The muscles in our legs, to develop the muscles in our legs. It's squat day so that I can have these great muscular legs. Some of us squat to get more flexibility in the hips. Take care of your knees, take care of your ankles. Notice the foot grounding into the earth. Full exhale, and then anything else I choose to do here has to be a choice that serves your body for whatever reasons you want. So physically, we know lifting up taller, leaning forward, taking the arms up overhead is more of a physical challenge. We know that dropping one knee down, dropping the other knee down, something that I can't even demonstrate completely, right, is going to work the flexibility in my hips. We know that the exhale helps us tie together all of the things that we're trying to accomplish. Trying to bring me to yoga. Just because I've chosen to sit doesn't mean you need to sit. And again, what other options are there, Candace? Because remember, I gave us that option of having toes forward as we're working through this flow as well. It's a sunflower flow, team. We're doing this for another 3 minutes. Lowering ourselves down and lifting ourselves up. As you're doing those things, think about, do I keep my feet grounded? Do my toes and my knees point to the same direction? That's a safety cue. I don't feel strong enough to do whatever it is that I'm doing. I don't have the flexibility enough, but I want to experience the intention of it. Well, that's when I start to bring more props in. So some of you will have noticed I sat on my blocks the last time I went into my squat. This time, I'm going to have my toes forward, my knees forward. I might not sit onto my blocks. This time I might put more weight into my torso. So I brought my chair into play. Now I don't have to worry so much about the weight of my body. As I lean backwards, my risk of falling backwards goes up. So I need to make sure that whatever I'm holding on to can support my weight. Play with these things. As you're squatting down, begin to notice, does one toe, does one foot, does one knee want to pop out more than the other? Probably. We're misled in thinking that anatomic position where everything is perfectly symmetrical is the norm. It's not. In fact, consider that yoga, consider that enlightenment. We are not born symmetrical. When you're ready to, bring yourself all the way down. So push yourself up out of the squat, top of the mat if you want. Exhale into that forward fold. Step walk, hop your feet back, drop the knees down, and let's go into hero's pose. So hero's pose is a seated pose, and hero's pose can be me just sitting on my heels. And for some people, you're going to say, can't be doing that. Well, we could sit up higher and try and tuck our feet underneath. That would be a variation of hero's pose. So if I'm sitting on my chair and I point my toes under my chair, I'm going to still get that stretch through the front of the ankles and the shins. But it'll be much less pressure on my knees because I don't have all my body weight. Some of us can say, well, I can't quite get there, but if I put blocks or pillows would be a lot more fun than hard blocks right now. I could sit in this posture much, much easier. Let's add on, right? You might be, okay, but Candace, I haven't figured out, I'll come back to you. Lift up, let the shoulders drop down out of the ears. Take the arms out or up. Now begin to notice here, as I'm adding more weight up here, what is that doing to my shoulders? What is that doing to my back? Am I leaning forward to overcompensate because I have tight hips. We're trying. It's not going to happen for everybody, and it might not happen at all today. We're trying to get our bum as close to our heels, as close to the floor as we can, and have our torso as straight a line as I can. Remember, neutral spine, so I'm not opening up here, but I'm also not rounding or leaning forward. Start to add on until you feel like, okay, I'm finding some work here. Hypermobile people might say, well, I can sit on the floor. Cool. Why don't you take your heels out to the side of your hips and sit down between your hips? Now that's a lot more pressure onto your knees, and it actually has your knee moving in a way that the knee's not actually meant to move side to side. There's a little bit of movement there, but it's forward and back is the movement. Is it healthy for me to put gentle pressure on joints? Yes, it creates those fibroblasts, but not to force pressure onto the joints. Choose things that feel good for you, and then let's get the blood pumping again. So as you inhale, you choose your hand position. I'm going to choose here. I'm a nice straight line. We're going to lift the sternum forward and up. Feel the lengthening, and then as you exhale, sit it back down. Inhale, bring it up. Controlled, bring it down. You're choosing. Inhale, bring it up. I might add something else on. Exhale, take it backwards. You're a straight line from your knees, through your hips, through your crown. That's going to add more work. If you find that you're clenching your glutes, I would say maybe you don't need that work today. Sit it back down. Listen to your body. What is my intention in cueing this right now is to give us a sequence that we don't often see. I've done this before, but I don't do this every single class like I do a lot of my other sequences. So now my brain isn't sort of pre-wired, here's what it has to look like. Yet it's a sequence that most of us should be able to adapt and find some challenging. Now, as you're doing this sequence, notice where your brain is being drawn to. Many of us, and I'm speaking for myself, but I know a lot of us, we're going to be drawn to, oh, let's get some fire going here. Let's get those reps in. And when you do that, when you're leaning backwards, belly into the spine, I want you to notice if your hands start coming forward or in front of your body. Okay, that's counterbalancing the work. That's smart, right? That's if I was forced to do something from this position, that's probably where my hands would be. But if I'm doing this to try and shatter my edges and try and break the ceilings or the barriers that I've put around me, maybe I'll practice more keeping my hands, my arms in the same plane as the center line of my body. Keep that flow going. And those that want to, maybe add more onto the flow. As you sit down, bow forward into a variation of child's pose. So for myself, I've set blocks up in front of me now. I'm trying to keep my bum touching my heels. Well, my bum's touching my pillow, touching my heels, touching the floor as I come forward into child's pose. And then inhale, bring yourself up, all the way up. Exhale, lean it back, find your edge, crush those barriers, crush those ideas of, oh, it's supposed to look this way. We have multi-joint exercises happening here. Not supposed to look one way. My hope is that we feel some similarities challenge. Feeling challenge is a good thing because it builds resistance and resilience. That's a better word, resilience. I'm hoping that you find a spot in the sequence where you can feel like you're giving up. And when I say giving up, I'm not meaning giving up quitting or even giving up hold of your systems, because then I have accidents all over the place. I think, of course, of the GI tract and that system, but giving up the idea that I can control everything. That's not something Candace likes to give up. So we're almost taking ourselves from these two extremities. One, where I'm this powerful, strong thing. And because I live in Western society, that's been labeled good. And then one where I've going into my child's pose, I'm releasing and I'm letting things go. And it's not bad, but it maybe doesn't have this, it maybe has a weaker connotation. And for some of us, weakness has this connotation of good and bad. So as we're practicing, just noticing how doing these different things make you feel inside. We're going to keep this flow going, only for maybe another 30 seconds. Anything you're choosing to do is perfect. And maybe just the next time you're in child's pose, stay in child's pose. Get your bum as close to your heels as you can and stretch your back out, reach the arms out, draw the shoulders back, extended child's pose. If you'd like to, bring the palms up beside the hips, round the back, tuck the chin into the chest. Maybe begin to sway your hips side to side. Full exhale. Inhale, come forward into a plank. And you can move your props to the side. Lower yourself down onto your belly. Take the arms out to the side or slightly forward, but keep the shoulders down out of the ears. And face can be down, but clearly you want to lift the shoulders or the chest just a little bit so that you're not, rubbing your face in the mat. This is work. As you're lifting your face up off the mat, this is work. If I asked you to hold this position for, say, an hour, how many of us would start to feel like there's a knot created in the back of our neck or the back of the shoulders? Change your hand position if you need to. The hands could be beside your hips to help release where that knot would be building. The other thing you could do is you can lift your pelvic floor, pull the belly in a little bit, draw your shoulders down a little bit more, strengthen your back a little bit more. Add on to that. Lift the opposite arm and the opposite leg. Your hand could be beside your hips. It could be out to the side. It could be forward. Exhale, release that off. Do the exact same thing on the other side. As we're doing this, notice if your body weight is shifting right or left. Alternate the side. Feel the work. Clearly there's work. Feel the breath and try to match the effort that your brain is telling the lower body and the upper body needs to do. So if you find that you're really lifting your chest and reaching your hand back, but you notice that maybe you've bent your knee or the leg doesn't come as high, maybe the message isn't getting downstairs as fast as it's getting upstairs. It's a different distance to travel. That message doesn't have to travel as far to get up to my hands. When you're ready, release that off. Just bring your hands underneath and rest your forehead on your hands. Tuck your chin a little bit. Tail tilt, tail tuck. If you'd like to, push yourself right back into a child's pose. That'll stretch your back out a little bit more. Hands could stay here or go out to the side. Lift one leg, gently drop the leg behind. Yeah, your hips lifting up off the ground, but try to keep the pressure in your arms and your elbows and your shoulders nice and even. Bring it back to the center. Do the same thing on the other side. Bring it back to the center. As you're doing these things, start to notice. Alternating side to side. Is your body traveling here? Mine is. As I do this, I tend to find that my body's traveling down my mat, and that tells me a couple things. That I'm nice and strong, I'm lifting, I'm taking the leg over, and then when I place it down, I let that hip drop a little bit, I'm not as controlled, and that moves my body down my mat more. Is that wrong? No, it depends what your goal is here. But my goal is balance, and I would definitely argue that's not balanced. Bring it back to the center. Take a moment. Take the arms out to the side. Maybe open your legs a little bit. Maybe keep your toes touching. Watch those glutes don't clench. Maybe bring the hands behind the ears. Hands behind the ears will be slightly easier than long arms. Lengthen your spine. Lift one shoulder up off the ground. Exhale, bring it back down. Same thing on the other side. So here's that twist again. How come this twist feels like it's more work than the last twist? It is. It's still flexibility into my spine, but I don't have the natural strength like I do in my lower body. Alternate those sides. And then whenever you're ready, release that off. And again, just notice the energy through your whole back. How are things feeling here? As you're ready, roll yourself to one side. Doesn't matter what side you want to roll yourself to. Bring your knees. You could keep your legs straight, but it would be so hard. If you bring your knees in, that's going to make you a little more stable here. Feet over feet, knee over knee, hip over hip, pretending that I'm this perfectly symmetrical being. And then imagine a pull through your hips so that the lower part of your body isn't going to be able to move right now. That bottom hand could come down and just clap your hands together. Now take the top hand and reach that over your head. There's your lateral flexor. Feel that flexor. Lengthen your spine. Bottom hand, you could bring it forward a little bit more. And you're going to slowly start to twist. So maybe top hand, just bring it behind your head so you have something under your head. You know what else feels great here? Put a pillow, put a bolster, put something along your spine so that as you're opening your chest to the sky and maybe even looking away, you can feel more supported. Inhale, lengthen, exhale. Release. Beautiful. When you're ready, bring yourself back. And if you want to, just hold this longer. Exhale, roll yourself onto your back. You might have to shift your body so that you're more on your mat, and that's fine. Take the arms out to the side, drop the knees to one side. Bring the knees to the center, drop the knees to the other side. Bring the knees to the center. So that twist, very similar to the twist we did, but I was twisting from my pelvic floor up. Roll yourself onto the other side. So yes, your back might be to the screen for a second. And you can just flip your body around if you don't like being away. Knee over knee, hip over hip. Clap the hands together. Lengthen the spine. And then one vertebrae at a time. So what am I doing different in this twist than when I dropped my knees to the side? Because really, in the most extreme situation, both of these twists should end up looking the same. If I was a contortionist, both of them would have My knees drop to one side, stacked over the other, both my shoulders touching the floor. Why doesn't it happen that way? Well, I'm not that flexible because I'm a normal, an average, right? I don't want to diss contortionists, but their bodies were not built in the average way. Nobody is built symmetrically or in that idea of the perfect anatomical body. None of them. Exhale, bring it back to the center. Inhale, roll yourself onto your back. Take your arms out to the side. Exhale, drop your knees to one side. Stay there longer. This is your flow. Inhale, when you're ready, bring your knees to the center. Exhale, drop your knees to the other side. Inhale, bring it to the center. Exhale, roll yourself over onto the side. Bring the hands together. We've created this flow. Inhale, bring the arms up over. There's your lateral flexion. Exhale, open the chest up to the sky. There's your twist. Now, I don't like to go straight to the center from here. I like to bring myself back to neutral spine. Then I bring myself to the center. Knees drop to one side. That will lower your risk of injury, coming back to neutral spine in between each set. Other side. Moving the body so that you're facing the side and you're on the side of your body. I've said side a million times, I realize that, but I don't really have another way to say it. Open that chest. Bring it back, neutral spine. Roll yourself onto the back. Let your arms go out to the side. Drop your knees to one side. Bring your torso to the center. Drop your knees to the other side. Bring your torso to the center, neutral spine. Drop your whole body or bring your whole body so you're lying in that fetal position. Reach the arms over. Open the chest. You're doing this spinal twist from the crown down. Bring it back, neutral spine. Onto your spine, spinal twist. You're drawing that spinal twist from your base up, root chakra up. Drop it to one side. Neutral spine, drop it to the other side. Neutral spine. Bring yourself through fetal position on the other side. Nice. Take your time. You might say, oh, Candace, you're not making this very fun because you're making me flow this. Then don't listen to Candace. Choose a sequencing that makes you feel good, that gives you what you need. And then whenever you're ready, I'm cueing on the clock. Bring yourself in for Shavasana. Tail tilt, tail tuck. Lengthen the spine. If your legs are bent, are you able to let the legs get heavy and long? And if you do that, but then your back arches, try and put something underneath your legs so you feel supported. If you don't have bolsters near to you, rolled up towels, an extra rolled up yoga mat could work. You could put your feet up on your coffee table or on your couch or on your ottoman so that your low back stays connected to the floor, but now your legs are more supported than if your feet are bent. Or your knees are bent, and your feet are on the floor. Now you don't have to work to hold that position. Nice deep breath. Remember at the beginning of the class when we visualize that, even though your hands are on the floor now, visualize as you inhale, fill belly, ribs, lungs, lengthening the spine, lengthening the neck, and then exhaling. Feel the flow of the breath. I'm completely aware of everything that is around me, but I'm choosing to react to nothing. That could be one variation or one definition of meditation. If you notice that your brain wants to stop on a thought, great. But don't fixate on that thought. Stop and let it go. That thought might come back. And if the thought didn't come back, then it's kind of pointless that I gave it so much time earlier. Releasing from attachment. And that's not a cue. I may have used it once before in one of my classes or talked about that idea. But letting go of attachment is one of the keys to samadhi, to enlightenment, to meditation, is not fixating on the things, the thoughts, the whatevers. Learning to let it go. Something truly needs my attention, it'll come back. Otherwise, I could let it go. Not about me or my needs. It's about you and your needs. And as much as moms, dads, parents, but of course I focus more on the women because that's who I am. But as much as we want to give those around us that power, we can't. I cannot control that at all. So stay longer or not. Your path, your journey. Whenever you feel like you're coming out, find that grounding, lift up tall, let the shoulders drop, and then if you'd like to take this energy with you, breathe it in. Namaste. Remember to like, comment, and share. And most important, don't forget to subscribe.